2009, a wildlife camera crew caught something so absurd on film that it should have ended the bird's career as a conservation symbol. Instead, it became the reason the entire world learned this species existed at all. New Zealand didn't hide the footage. They made the bird an official government spokesbird. This bird is one of only 236 of his species left alive on the entire planet, and his most famous moment was climbing onto a man's head on live television. To understand how strange that sentence really is, you have to understand what this bird is in the first place. The kakapo is the world's only flightless nocturnal parrot, found nowhere on Earth except New Zealand. It is also the heaviest parrot alive, with males reaching up to 4 kilograms, and one of the longest-lived birds in existence, with lifespans commonly reaching 60 to 90 years. Its mating system is just as unusual. Male kakapo dig shallow bowls into the ground, inflate air sacs in their chest, and produce a deep booming call that can carry through the forest for up to 8 hours a night, all to attract a female. It is a slow, patient, almost theatrical way of finding a mate, and it depends entirely on the health of the forest around it. That dependence became a problem the moment humans arrived. Around 700 years ago, Polynesian settlement introduced rats and dogs, along with hunting, and the kakapo population began to decline. The real collapse came later with European settlement in the 1800s, which brought cats, stoats, and ship rats. The kakapo's only defense against a predator was to freeze completely still, a strategy that had worked for millions of years against birds of prey, and it meant nothing at all against a mammal that could simply walk up and kill it. By the 20th century, the species was nearly gone. In the mid-1970s, trackers searching Fiordland found only 18 surviving kakapo, and every single one of them was male. A larger population was later found on Stewart Island, but feral cats quickly began wiping that population out too. By 1995, the total number of kakapo left alive anywhere on Earth had fallen to 51. That crisis forced a complete restructuring of New Zealand's kakapo recovery program. Every surviving bird was relocated to predator-free islands. From that point forward, every kakapo would be individually named, radio-tracked, and monitored for the rest of its life. That decision is the only reason this story can be told in this much detail at all. On March 23, 1997, a chick hatched on Codfish Island to parents named Zephyr and Felix. He was named Sirocco. At 3 weeks old, he developed a serious respiratory illness. Given how few kakapo existed at the time, rangers couldn't afford to lose him. He was taken from the nest, placed inside a plastic bubble, and treated with a nebulizer to help him breathe. It worked, and he survived. But it also meant Sirocco spent a critical stage of his early life around humans instead of other kakapo. That had consequences nobody could undo. Sirocco imprinted on people. When he was released back into the wild and reached maturity, he showed no interest in female kakapo at all. Instead of building his display bowl deep in the forest to attract a mate, he built it near ranger huts and boomed at the humans who worked there instead. Conservationists quickly understood that Sirocco was never going to contribute to the species' breeding program. But his complete comfort around people made him useful in a different way. Starting in 2006, years before anyone had heard of him internationally, Sirocco began appearing at small public events on Ulva Island, letting visitors see a kakapo up close for the first time. By 2009, Sirocco was already comfortable in front of people. Nobody expected that comfort to turn into the most watched moment in the species' history. That year, a BBC crew arrived on Codfish Island to film a documentary called Last Chance to See, a television revival of a 1989 radio series originally created by zoologist Mark Carwardine and author Douglas Adams. This time, Carwardine was joined by actor and writer Stephen Fry. Their goal was simple: to document species standing on the edge of extinction, and the kakapo was near the top of that list. While filming, the crew met Sirocco. Acting entirely on the instincts he'd developed from imprinting on humans as a chick, Sirocco climbed onto Carwardine's shoulders. He moved onto his head and began attempting to mate with him in full view of the camera. Carwardine endured it as patiently as he could. Fry, watching from a few feet away, could barely contain himself, laughing at what he was witnessing in real time. The footage aired on BBC Two on October 4, 2009. It was quickly uploaded to BBC's YouTube channel, and it did not stay quiet for long. Within its first week alone, it had been watched over 700,000 times. Exactly how far it eventually spread depends on which record you check. Archival data from December 2022 recorded nearly 24 million views on the primary upload, while other sources have cited figures as high as 30 million. Whichever number is closest to accurate, one thing is clear. For a strange nature documentary clip about a bird almost nobody outside New Zealand had heard of, this was an enormous, genuine viral event. The reaction split in two directions at once, and both worked in the kakapo's favor. It was funny, undeniably, and people shared it because of that, but it also introduced millions of viewers to a species they had never known existed, and that curiosity didn't fade once the laughing stopped. Social media accounts were created for Sirocco and grew quickly, and the moment took on a life far beyond wildlife conservation entirely. Someone isolated the rhythmic bobbing of Sirocco's head from the footage and turned it into a small, color-cycling animated image. That image became known as the party parrot, and it eventually became a common emoji on workplace chat platforms, spreading Sirocco's image to millions of people who had no idea he was a real, critically endangered bird at all. A wildlife documentary clip had just done something no government conservation campaign had ever managed to do on its own. On January 29, 2010, New Zealand's Prime Minister at the time, John Key, made it official. He named Sirocco the country's official spokesbird for conservation, timed deliberately to coincide with the United Nations International Year of Biodiversity. On January 29, 2010, New Zealand's Prime Minister at the time, John Key, made it official. He named Sirocco the country's official spokesbird for conservation, timed deliberately to coincide with the United Nations International Year of Biodiversity. Key pointed to the bird's massive, built-in global following as a genuine opportunity, a way to draw international attention to New Zealand's endangered species using a level of public affection no ordinary awareness campaign could manufacture on its own. New Zealand's conservation minister at the time echoed the same point, calling Sirocco the obvious choice to represent the country's unique and fragile wildlife. What followed was a real, sustained public role. Between 2011 and 2018, Sirocco toured mainland sanctuaries including Zealandia, Maungatautari, and the Orokonui Eco Sanctuary, drawing sold-out crowds eager to see the bird in person. He didn't travel like cargo. On at least one recorded flight to Dunedin in 2011, he flew in the passenger cabin of a commercial Air New Zealand flight in his own seat, the same as any other passenger. Not every idea involving Sirocco succeeded. Because his instinct to mate with human heads never went away, one conservation veterinarian attempted to turn that instinct into something scientifically useful, designing a modified helmet meant to collect his sperm during those encounters for potential use in the breeding program. It didn't work. Kakapo mating can last up to 40 minutes, far too long for any human to reasonably endure wearing it, and Sirocco showed no interest in mating with a head wearing the device anyway. The helmet was retired as a failed experiment, and today it sits in Te Papa, New Zealand's National Museum, a strange but genuine artifact of how far conservation efforts were willing to go. Whether Sirocco's individual fame directly caused the money and attention that followed is difficult to prove with certainty. But the pattern lines up. In 2009, the year his video went viral, the global kakapo population stood at 124 birds. By 2026, that number had risen to 236, more than double, following years of intensive, expensive, and closely funded conservation work. Public appearances alone came close to paying for themselves. Financial records from a 2018 tour to Orokonui show a total cost of $16,633 for his care and transport, including $7,000 just for the flight, largely covered by ticket sales. In 2016, Sirocco's radio transmitter failed, and he went missing in the dense wilderness of Fiordland. Rangers searched for him using trained dogs for nearly 2 years. In February 2018, he was found alive and in good health and fitted with a new transmitter. In 2023, kakapo were reintroduced to mainland New Zealand for the first time in decades at Sanctuary Mountain Maungatautari, a milestone built on years of funding, research, and public attention. Sirocco is still alive today, now 29 years old. According to New Zealand's Department of Conservation, he no longer makes public appearances and lives quietly in the wild. a bird who could never take part in his own species' breeding program, whose most famous moment was a mistake caused by growing up around the wrong species entirely, ended up doing more to keep that species alive than almost anything else in its recovery. New Zealand didn't bury the footage that made him famous. They built a strategy around it, and it worked.